All right, let's dive into a really powerful academic paper that explores a very tough subject. The full title is Honor Killing and the Cycle of Social Influence, a study of the Pakistani bride through Albert Bandura's social learning theory. We're going to break down what makes this particular study so important and the unique gap it fills. So the paper kicks off with a really big and frankly a very difficult question. How on earth do destructive social norms, things like honor killings, get learned and then passed down from one generation to the next within a community? The critical idea here is that this isn't about something innate, it's about learned behavior. So you might be wondering what makes this study so special. Well, it fills a massive gap in the research world. Sure, there are plenty of studies on honor-based violence, but it's incredibly rare to find one that merges literary analysis with social psychological theory. That unique combination is exactly what gives this paper its edge. Here's a quick roadmap of where we're headed in this explainer. We'll start by digging into that research gap, then we'll unpack the social learning framework they use. From there, we'll see how it's applied to the novel The Pakistani Bride, check out the key findings, and wrap up with the study's conclusions and recommendations. Okay, let's jump right into our first section, the research and its gap. It's really important to understand why this study was even necessary and what it's bringing to the table that's new. So, how exactly do the researchers tackle this problem? Well, that brings us right to Section 2, the social learning framework. This is the theoretical lens they use for their analysis, and honestly, it's the engine driving their entire argument. The whole foundation of this study rests on this incredible idea from Albert Bandura, social learning theory. And the core concept is surprisingly simple, but it's also incredibly profound. It basically says, we don't just learn by trial and error on our own. No, we learn from each other. We watch, we imitate, and we model the behaviors we see all around us. Bandura actually breaks this learning process down into 4 key steps. Think of it like a chain reaction. First, you've got attention. You have to actually see the behavior. Next is retention. You got to remember what you saw. Then comes reproduction. You need to be able to physically copy the action. But that last piece, motivation, that's the real kicker. There has to be a strong reason, either a reward or the avoidance of punishment, that pushes you to actually perform that behavior. Okay, so we've got the theory. But theory is one thing, right? Seeing it in action is another. And this is where the paper gets really, really cool. The researchers apply this entire framework to a literary case study, the novel The Pakistani Bride. Now, this table is just brilliant because it lays out the study's methods so clearly. You can literally see how they connect the dots. Take the first example. A character enforces a super strict code of honor. Where did they learn that? Well, they observed their elders doing the exact same thing for years. And what's the payoff? The motivation? They get a huge thumbs up from the community, and crucially, they avoid being shamed. It perfectly shows the theory in action within the story. So after putting the novel under this theoretical microscope, what did they actually find? This brings us to the heart of the paper, the key analytical findings. Let's dig into what this unique analysis really brought to light. The biggest takeaway here is that this kind of violence isn't something people are born with. Not at all. It's learned. It's passed down through what the paper calls a cycle of social influence. The characters in the book are just modeling the behaviors they see around them, behaviors rooted in deep patriarchal norms. And what keeps this whole cycle spinning? It's that motivation piece again, the powerful social rewards like praise, and the devastating punishments like shame. The novel, it turns out, is a perfect little microcosm of how this works in the real world. Okay, so we have these powerful findings. The big question is, now what? Where do we go from here? And that brings us to the study's final part, its conclusions and recommendations, which suggest a path forward. Based on everything they found, the paper lays out 3 really smart recommendations. First, let's start using stories, like novels, in social science classes to make these big, complex theories click. Second, if we want to break the cycle, we have to introduce a new one. That means community programs that actively model and reward nonviolent ways of handling conflict. And finally, we've got to encourage everyone to look critically at these cultural stories and texts, to ask questions and challenge the harmful stuff from within. And hey, a quick but important note for all the researchers watching. This isn't just some article. This is a peer-reviewed paper published in a Scopus-indexed open-access journal. What does that mean for you? It means you can grab the full study for free using the link right there in the description. You can download it, read it, and most importantly, cite it. Tapping into this work will definitely add some serious weight to any related research you're doing. So we're going to leave you with a final question to chew on. This study provides an incredible lens, right? A new way of seeing. So just think about it. What other deep-seated cultural stories from any part of the world could we decode and maybe even start to challenge if we looked at them through this exact same social learning framework?